Hey guys, and welcome back to the Model Car Cup Series. Today we're going to be starting a full detail build on a 1989-1990 Lumina. Now, while I've done some full details on the Lumina before, I've never done one like this. Going to be a bit of a challenge. Stick around, let's get started. Today's trivia question: seatbelts used in NASCAR stock cars must be dated by the manufacturer and must not be used if older than A. 6 years, B. 3 years, C. 5 years. Hey guys, before we get to the Lumina, I've got to share some stock car goodies I got in the mail this week. This is awesome. You know, in the video about Richard Petty's 1981 Buick Regal, I showed you a picture of the oil filter that's in the car, and I kind of jokingly put a challenge out there to decal makers for that oil filter. Well, Ron at Somo Diecast in Springfield, Missouri took that to task, and check this out. Here's a picture of what he sent. And here they are. Check that out. And let me tell you, for something this small, the registry is absolutely unbelievable. And as you see, I had to try one out, and I'm going to have to lay this down here and get the camera down so you can see it a little better, if I can. If it'll cooperate. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, look at that. The RP43 Racing Series STP oil filter. I tell you, man, I was excited when I saw those. I was surprised when Ron said he was going to be trying to do that. But that turned out really, really great. So thank you, Ron. I appreciate that very much. That really made my day. And I also got a package from Lucas E. And this, also on the 81 Buick, I'll get these out of the package. These were made by the late Frank Bennett, who was a prolific builder himself. And these things are Moroso valve covers for a small block. And if you remember, the Buick had these valve covers on it. So we have those. Let me see if I can get down and get that one a little closer too. But I don't know how far I'll be able to get without losing it, but I guess you see that. But anyway, these are great. And he also sent one of his noses for the 81 Buick Le Mans that converts it to the Grand Am or the Ventura. Check that out. This thing is very crisp, very clean. And if you've watched Lucas' channel, you've seen the model that he converted, what he did with the Levi Garrett car, and it looks awesome. But I have somebody that I worked with at one time that drove one of these too. So if you want to get one of these, go to andyshhq.com, Andy's Hobby Headquarters, and you can get them exclusively there. Okay, guys, let's get over to this Lumina. If you answered C, 5 years, to the trivia question, you're right. Okay guys, as I said, I have done a couple of full detail Luminas, as you see here. The Goodwrench Lumina I did many years ago, and of course the Superflow car. And I've done a few others too, but those are my favorites, I think. So now we're going to get to another Lumina. And if you remember back when first part of the year, I think it was March, April, somewhere in there, I mentioned that I wanted to I had a list on that I failed miserably on as far as stock car builds for this year, and as well as the drag cars. Oh boy. But I didn't realize that our business was going to take off like it did, and I'm grateful for that too. But anyway, this one is going to be quite a challenge because I'm going to do a full detail build in 1/32 scale. So as you see here, there's a big difference from about 8 and a little over, well, between 8 1/4 and 8 1/2 inch 1/24 to about a 6-inch version here of the Snap Together kit. And that, because it's a Snap Together, is a challenge in itself. But let me reset the camera and I'll show you what we have in mind here. Okay guys, most of you will remember that back in the 90s, AMT and Monogram both jumped on the crazy bandwagon of 1/32 scale Snap Togethers. And this is the Monogram. And of course, Snap Togethers have all those little pins. Nothing seems to, it's very difficult to do that. You see where on this one I cut the great big mounting pin that sticks up in there, and you see the one in the fuel cell in the back there that, well, hopefully you can, that you plug in, and all of this stuff just snaps in there together. You see there's no real springs at all. It's just a big round piece of plastic. The roll cage all was molded to the chassis. I'm trying to get it to snap apart here. And it just laid out on the sprue like this, and then you just push it up, and, well, I guess I can snap it back in. Oh, there's the pin. I was going to say, the mounting bracket, there it goes. Snaps right in and down in there, and there you go. And it's for a kid, and then the wheels roll and they snap on and all that stuff. One-piece window unit. And the thing I really didn't like about the Monogram was it was all peel and stick. So these are peel off and stick on stickers. And there's the bottom of the motor and headers is one piece. And then what holds this in, you put it on the bottom of the chassis, and then there's the engine. You snap. Oops, sorry about that. I was off camera there. Then that just snaps on the top and holds it in place. And it's very difficult to get any detail out of that. But for a kid, for a shelf model, it's really good. It's okay. I mean, look at that. That looks pretty good. And if you look close, you can see that they are stickers. And the other one available is the AMT Snapfast kit. Now this one is the Purelator Lumina and Daytona winner, Derek Cope. And these are totally different in that the chassis is very much like the others, but you see all the giant holes where everything snaps. Well, I don't know if you can see it. Snaps into place. And there's no frame rails back here. There's just a lot of stuff that has to be changed. Well, in that, with the AMT kit, well, actually, let's look at this one first. This is the Monogram kit, and this is the one that actually was, as you can see by the inside there, was black. This was the Goodwrench car, and I've got a coat of primer on it, and the Monogram kits were, the front ends were like super speedway cars, very smooth. And I like the detail, the crispness of the body lines on this. But the AMT version, you have a short track kind of version. You've got all of the brake duct works, as you can see down here. The cooling hoses, the oil, let me grab my pointer here. The oil cooler vent, and again you've got this vent here and all of this screen in here, which I would cut all that out and put it in. And I'm thinking about doing this version just so I can add those hoses that run around to the brakes. Now on the Monogram, you see it's smooth on the inside. Because they had a full roll cage in the Monogram, even though it was pretty simplified. The AMT, on the other hand, had the upper part of the roll cage and the sidebars are molded in, as you can see here, are molded into the side. So all of this is going to have to be taken out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the best parts of both kits. So I'm going to be combining these. So let's take a look real quick at how we're going to do that and some of the detail parts. Now, right here, originally, there was a fire extinguisher mounted right here, just molded in, and you see the oil cooler right here, which I'm going to have to move to the other side. I got to do a lot of changing in here. And here is the AMT chassis I've started to modify. I've built an area in for the fuel cell back here. I've put my plug here and there for the sump tank cooler. I have added a fuel cell, which, as you see, there's no real fuel cell. It's just a flat across the bottom, whereas with this one, you've got the fuel cell that, hopefully you can see that you'll be able to see underneath the car. In fact, I'm pretty sure well, again, in rehearsal it always goes better. There we go. And you can see the fuel cell, if I can get my finger out of the way, you see the fuel cell sticking out under there a little bit, which was common of that era. So we got a lot of work done here. You see where I filled in the holes and kind of reinforced them on the bottom and some of the gaps. All of this has been filled in and sanded smooth where the front hoops would snap in. I'm going to see, hopefully you can see the spring buckets that have been added up here. And if I can get close enough without it, I don't know if you can see the holes for the bolts for the upper A-arms. And if you remember in my Superflow car, the access panel to the gauges was off, and I've got that opened up as well. I'll have an access panel so you'll be able to see the backs of the gauges in here and all that wiring and so forth. And I'll be scratch building the master cylinder and the overflow tanks, that kind of stuff. I'll be doing all that in aluminum, I think. There's a lot, but like I said, with the roll cage that comes in this, or with the AMT kit, all you have is this bar, which just kind of snaps right up in here. And then the upper hoop and going back to the fuel cell, and that's it. Because the sidebars are, again, molded in here. So we're going to sand all that out, and we're going to incorporate the sidebars from the, I'm getting all confused now, from the Monogram kit. A lot of this will be cut away, and we'll be incorporating these into this kit. So we'll have a full roll cage there. Same thing with the front hoop. Up front, there's a lot of changes that'll have to be made, so I'm probably going to take and scratch build the hoop up here. And as is kind of my style. Oh, and the other thing is, let me show you these real quick. These are, and this was the Monogram. Let me get another one here. The tires are hollow. You know what? Let me move this camera down a little bit closer. Are hollow on the back, really realistic looking, and they're nicely molded and they're smooth. They're just, but check out this wheel, the hub in the center. looks like a truck hub or something. So we will not be using that. We'll be using the AMT tires. They are rubber, and they are, well, I'll show them to you here in just a, or excuse me, these are the AMT. We're going to go to the Monogram. The seats, I'm still looking at how I'm going to modify what, and of course this snap-in lug is going to have to be removed, and some holes drilled here and there for the belts. And by the way, what do you see the belts? It'll really be cool. Next, well, let me show you those other tires. Then we're going to get to the engine and all that stuff. These are the tires, rubber, as you can see there. And they are very nicely printed, but all of that's going to be sanded off. And these are the wheels, much more realistic. The only thing with these wheels is you notice in the dead center it's square where it snaps in and locks in. So that's going to have to be, there'll be a piece molded and made for that goes in it. And of course that'll have to be drilled out. And by the way, guys, I've been looking online to see if I could find some Arrow or some Bassett wheels in 1/32 scale that are the pre-drilled, like you can get 3D printed as you see here. And I wanted to find those in 1/32 scale, and I have searched the internet over, and unless I'm overlooking them, I just don't see them. But anyway, and if I have to use these and scratch build the stuff and drill them out myself, that's fine. That's fine. But it certainly would be quicker and easier because this is for an upcoming show, and it would be nice to have that because these are going to be modified from the back, all that cut way down in there and all that stuff. So, but boy, do I love a challenge apparently. So. I'm going to have fun with it either way. If I have to do it that way, but if, like I said, if anybody knows of anything, please let me know. I would love to hear it. Decals for this car, it is going to be, as I said earlier, you guys may remember, back in the early part of the year when I asked, hey guys, I was thinking about a 32nd scale, but Petty or Earnhardt, well, your votes overwhelmingly made that clear. So, I'm going to be using these and modifying these a little bit to make that car. I also was able to find an old set of these really good Jax decals for the Lumina. These are for the Monte Carlo, but these can easily be modified. So decal-wise, I think we're sitting pretty good. Seat belts. Because we're in 1/32 scale, I went to the hobby shop and I went through and I found 32nd scale for aircraft from Edward, 32nd scale seat belts. So that's no problem. That's covered. The tires, I wanted to stencil them so they looked very realistic. And I found this online. It's a place in France, and I could not believe I got these stencils in about a week from France, and I couldn't believe it when they got there. But they are very crisp. They're let's see if I can get them out here. Well, that's just great. I don't think you can see them, but well, you have a little bit. But they're the stencil type decals, and I am told these things, I think they were made originally for slot cars, so they're pretty tough. But they really look really, really good. And also, same company, I was able to get a couple sets of, let me see if I can take one of these out and let you see them, in 32nd scale. Brake discs. Photo etch brake discs. And I already have 3D calipers and hubs. And then there's the other set. Is that not cool? So, and again, a lot of suspension's got to be redone to accommodate springs that I'll have to make and things like that, which I think is going to be kind of fun too. Transmission, I'm going to take, and that's some really nice looking linkage molded in there, but I'm going to have to cut all that away and make that, and hollow out, of course, the bell housing. And I'm going to do this the way I usually do a stock car in Batson style, as Clay calls it. And here is our engine stand. And I'll be making pulleys too. I just wanted to fit everything up and see kind of size and all. And I've made my place for the carburetor, and I'll show you that, because the carburetor that comes with this thing is just molded on, and it's just a block of plastic, and that's it, with a hole in it that the breather just snaps down into. A piece of the clock mechanism to get the flywheel on the back. And I've got to clean that up and drill some balance holes and all that stuff. I'm going to make, these are Moroso valve covers, and I've cut the heat shields off, and I'm going to make some changes to that, and I may go back to the other style, but we'll see with that as I go. Speaking of engine details, I was able to find, well, you know what, before I get into the engine, let me show you these. These are from Shapeways 3D Printing, and I mentioned the brake calipers, and these are 1/32 scale brake discs. There's the caliper right there, or calipers. Then there's the discs, and there's the hubs that we'll be using on the other things. And the more I look at these brake discs, I like the aluminum, but I'm going to paint these and just kind of see how they look anyway. So I've got options on those disc brakes, which back when I bought these kits, I would have never believed this stuff was even going to be available for a 32nd scale anything. And moving on to those other engine details, carburetors. These are also from Shapeway. They come 4 to a pack. And let me tell you guys, these things, well, there they went. I want you to check this out. These are Hollies, but can you see what I see? These things are just the level of detail, and there's just really no way, until I get it painted or at least primed, you can't really tell. But sitting on that little riser there, well, not exactly straight, but you get the point there. It certainly beats that glob of plastic that was molded in on there. And so that's our carburetors. And lastly, this is one of the kits that is just snapped together. And you see how that looks. And you see the headers. And I just, as far as where I'm going to put the plug wires and all that kind of stuff, I found the exact scale wire that I need, so I'm good there. But those headers just weren't cutting it. So again, I checked Shapeways for 1/32 scale headers, and these things are awesome. They are, don't know if you can see it, but in 32nd scale, see they're hollow? Look up in there. And you believe that? And these things really, really look good. I got a little modifying to them to do, but as you see here, I'll put my plate there to cover up all those plug-in holes, and it's a good looking set of headers. So maybe using those. I've got some modifications to do to them, but that's okay. That's okay. A little bit of modifying, but as modelers, that's what we do. We do stuff. Let's see, is there anything else? This is an intro video, guys, so this is giving you a direction on where I'm going, and I've got this show this is upcoming pretty quick. So this is going to be kind of priority. While stuff's drying on this one, I've got something else I want to share with you that we'll talk about later on. And let's see, I know there'll be something I forgot to show you. While I was going through the other models, if you remember all of these models that were available back then, of course you had Bud Moore's car, you had Davey Allison's car, you had a lot of them. And I found this one in the stash too. This is a T-Bird that I started. You can see the front forks I started modifying, and I've got the trunk already cut out, and I've got the section out here cut out where the frame rails are going to have to go in. A lot of mods that'll be doing this, and I ran across a set of 32nd scale Hooters decals. So this one may be an upcoming detail build too. But that's for down the road. That's for later. And is there anything else? There is, like I said, one other thing I want to be working on while I'm working on this, and that one may be a surprise for down the road. And of course, we've got the United Scale Automotive Content Creators Plymouth, but we've got till January 15th on that. And nothing like waiting to the last minute, right? Actually, I've already got a little bit done on that, and I'll give you an update on that here pretty soon. Just the direction of where I'm going to be making some changes in it. So we're going to be attempting, and if you still have any of these 32nd scales, break them out, take a look, build along if you want to. And I think we talked about the rear ends and how we're going to, well, you can see where I've already cut the old things away, and I'll have to make the springs and all that kind of stuff, and for that. And fun, and then again, I may not know what I've gotten myself into. Well, guys, thanks so much. I appreciate you tagging along on this one. That's what's coming up. And this has already been, as you can see, a lot of the work's already been started. So we're going to be rocking along on this, and this is for that upcoming show. Guys, thanks so much for watching again. If you're not a subscriber, help us out. Give us a sub. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Hit the Teespring store. Got a lot of our Model Car Cup Series decals, coffee mugs, drinkware, t-shirts, all that stuff, and jump into the Model Car Cup Series. Guys, thank you so much. God bless. We'll see you in the next video. See you guys.